I'm so delighted to be working with Ridley College, North America's first visible wellbeing school. The basic idea behind visible wellbeing is to help students to take their wellbeing, which sits inside of them and is therefore an invisible phenomenon, and find easy and simple ways to make it more external, to make it more visible. It's only when we make a person's wellbeing more visible to them that they can work with wellbeing when it's not going so well and engage in coping mechanisms and seeking help. And on the flip side, they can see when it is going well, and they're the moments where we maximise learning challenges, friendships, etc.
Visible well-being is when your mind and your body is healthy and it's happy and it's calm.
To me, well-being is being both happy and healthy.
It is important because if you don't take care of yourself first, then you're not going to be able to get to anywhere because yes, we have academic goals, we have extracurricular goals, we have life goals, but then the basis of all sits on how well you are and how well you perform so that you can get to your goals. And that's why well-being is really important.
I think well-being is important because the way we react as a result of the way we feel can impact those around us. We need to kind of understand the way we're feeling, kind of just to better ourselves and those around us too.
What the visible wellbeing approach does is it marries together the science of wellbeing with the science of learning. It's a particular approach where we work with the teachers and the faculty in the school, training them on the basic principles of positive education, and then they find ways to embed those principles into their classrooms. The beauty of that is that it means that visible wellbeing can be present in any classroom, in a lower school classroom, in an upper school classroom, in a math class, in a science class, in an outdoor education class.
I think that visible well-being is so important in a school setting because we spend a lot of time teaching kids about how to live healthy lives, but we don't really talk very much about what it looks like. And so I think, especially for younger students, if you can tell them this is what it looks like, they're very visual and they want to know, I'm doing this well, or I am well, and this is what it looks like, then they can identify it in themselves and they can identify it in their friends.
There are lots of little things that we can be doing within the regular day-to-day programming that don't require us to do anything extra, just different. So things like making sure to prime kids and put them in a positive state before teaching a lesson, and pointing out things that kids are doing using the same language with all the teachers, their character strengths. Helping kids identify what their strengths are may be different than what their talents are.
After the first time Dr. Waters came here to Ridley, I started using her vocabulary. I think I've always had a lot of the positive in my teaching. I always see students' strengths. So that side, I think, wasn't new for me personally, but to have a vocabulary that the whole school was sharing was fantastic.
When we partnered with Professor Waters and we learned about the obvious and significant benefits of visible well-being for our students, ourselves, and in fact our whole community, the advisory program seemed a good place to start. The advisory program at Ridley is built upon the philosophy that each child deserves a champion, a significant adult at school who will support and advocate for them. At Ridley College, we believe that we are cultivating and nurturing a community of enduring relationships. When we introduced the VIA Strength Survey and began to deliberately and intentionally socialize the language around visible well-being, we saw the obvious advantages of using this to promote both student reflection and student growth. The survey results helped our students identify their top go-to strengths. And by helping students achieve this, we went on to unpack their results as a whole and look at the implications of their character strengths when students began that all-important goal setting. It truly was an empowering and transformative experience for our students.
So something that I've incorporated into my PE program here at Ridley is something called Strength Spotters. So what that looks like in a PE class is that I'll have one or two students that are designated the Strength Spotter for the day. And basically what their job is is to keep their eyes and ears open and just look for different strengths that students are displaying throughout the day and throughout the class. And then what we do at the end of class is we have these little papers that they fill out. They put the name of the student, they tell them the strength, and then maybe like one celebration of what they saw and what was so great.
In particular, what I've noticed is when students are unpacking assessment results and students feel disappointed with those results. Maybe they're not where they need to be at that particular point. And alongside the teacher, they'll develop strategies of coping strategies and habits that will enable them to move forward.
So we were asked to design hats on our character strength, and I chose appreciation of beauty and excellence, and it's incorporated with leaves and butterflies.
We've had brain breaks. Miss Kidd has come into the classroom sometimes and like done mindfulness activities with us, and they're always trying to like put creativity into the classroom.
Another way that I nurture my well-being at school is through athletics, through mandatory sport. Being on a sports team and being involved in something makes me feel part of the community, which is really great for my well-being.
In one of my classes, actually in my math class, when things get a bit too overwhelming or my teacher feels like there's a lack of focus, he'll take maybe 3 minutes to just sit back and he'll play this breathing video, and we'll all kind of take a few minutes and sit back and try and get grounded again.
A lot of times when I'm getting stressed with the material and I keep getting the answer wrong, or I'm stressed about all the questions, the song break allows my brain a lot to just relax and refresh itself, and then I'm way more open to ask questions and learn better.
We made a coping wheel, and we wrote down all the stuff that would help us once we're angry, and we put these coping strategies that if we were stressed out or we just needed to take our mind off something, we could spin it, and it had different choices like meditation, take a walk, or talk to a friend.
We do some strength spotting, for example, and if a student's feeling frustrated and they don't think that they're very good at something, we can show them what they are good at and then help them out with that.
I think gratitude and reminding each other how grateful we are for each other's existence is a really crucial part of well-being. And for example, in my residence at Dean's House, we plan an activity that we send warm fuzzies to each other, which is anonymously writing sentences of gratitude and why we are grateful for each other through an online portal to each other, which will then be sent to everyone and their families just to remind them how great they are. And that really boosts up confidence in everyone, I think.
When you're trying to build relationships and you're trying to teach the kids, you need to know where they are. So what I like to do is I have check-ins. And when you check into class, you can tell me how you're feeling. Are you okay? Are you meh? Do you need to have a private chat? And that's something simple as using a sticky note on the whiteboard, and they just put it in where they are. Also, we do checkouts at the end of the day, and I just have the kids line up, and I have posters on the wall, and they just run and give a high five to wherever they think they are. So it's 4 different categories, and they're just able to assess themselves. And it really gives me as the teacher a really great understanding of where my students are and where I want them to go.
Another thing that we do is that in our biology class we have these well-being blocks where you can turn the block to a specific color, because there are different colors on each side, and each color signifies a specific emotion that you're feeling that day. So green obviously means go, you're ready to learn. You can have yellow, that you're not feeling too well today, but you'll still attempt. Red could be I'm completely shut off today, and white could be just white space in your head.
Me and Kashav, as our class project, we're doing bracelets. So basically we are teaching the standard 8, which is grade 8, and they have upcoming exams. We're teaching them how to braid bracelets as part of a mental health awareness.
The visible wellbeing approach is as much for the adults in the school as it is for the students in the school. In our visible wellbeing training, we start with all of the adults, staff and faculty. We introduce them to the 6 pathways of wellbeing. We provide them with the toolkit of practices that they can implement not only in their role at the school, not only in their classrooms with the students, but in their own life. As an organisational psychologist, I'm a firm believer that if we can't enable wellbeing in the adults in the school, it's very difficult for us to build wellbeing in the students of our schools.
I'm inspired. I'm inspired by the partnership and the growth and opportunities, not only for the students and what will transcend, but also for the staff. So what is really intriguing about this is community-wide.
not just the people who are standing in front of the students in the classrooms, but overall the entire staff and faculty here at Ridley College.
So I use our monthly staff meetings to bring visible well-being initiatives in, and I encourage managers to incorporate visible well-being initiatives in their individual department meetings.
I've felt that these professional development sessions have been very good from a personal perspective, just getting me to kind of right-size things, think about what I'm doing in my practice, but living in the moment and appreciating that moment.
Something that I would like to continue working on this year is to make self-care a priority in my day and as well as my staff, their lives. It's something that I notice immediately when we are taking care of ourselves, when I'm taking care of myself. And it's super important because if we aren't doing these things, we aren't good examples for our children. They won't put their self-care as a priority, and I think that's something that as I parent my children, I notice that they notice when I'm taking care of myself and they benefit.
Some of the key takeaways from this session for Dr. Waters, there's two big ones for me. Number one, just being comfortable with the range of emotion. Visible well-being doesn't mean just having happy-go-lucky emotions all the time. It's okay to wrestle with things that are more painful. But the key that she said is, encourage people not to live there or be there too long. Finding ways to encourage people to bounce back from it. That's one. And the second one dealt with, I guess, the way that to help people deal with experience and cope with it when they suffer a disappointment or a setback. So that they don't generalize or think it's all about them or that they'll never be successful again, but helping them bounce back and giving them a way to see it and giving them perspective on it.
The advancement department here at Ridley is comprised of 3 different departments: development, admissions, and communications. And we decided and discerned that when people were feeling their highest level of well-being was when we were working together, when we knew what the other departments were doing. And so we wanted to come together at a retreat outside of campus or off campus and develop those relationships.
We had 3 main success criteria for this project. We wanted to increase interdepartmental cohesion and collaboration between the 3 departments. We also wanted to generate some really interesting interdepartmental projects that we would flesh out and work on throughout the year. And third, we wanted to create interdepartmental visible well-being and just happiness in general.
From my first days here in orientation to day-to-day life at Ridley, there's often things going on to enhance the experience for staff, whether it is a staff social at the end of a headmaster's forum or a social at orientation for new staff. Workout days organized by staff members in the mornings before school, visible well-being bingos in the staff room, baby shower pools. There's always an opportunity to connect with staff members.
Having been a psychologist for over 20 years, I've seen wellbeing brought into schools in many different ways. The major way in which most schools bring wellbeing in is through curriculum. Visible wellbeing is different. Rather than bringing wellbeing in through curriculum in the classroom, it's about creating cultural change across the school. It's about creating an ecosystem where everyone has the chance to thrive and where everyone has the flexibility and the knowledge to take something that's invisible, their own well-being, and make it more visible to themselves and others.
So although the seed of an idea in 2014, this vision has really taken root in the soil of Ridley College, so to speak, as we've come to understand and now have an absolute conviction that there is nothing more important in the education of the next generation, to teach them how to build a flourishing life.
Ridley's just living up to everything I was hoping, and yeah, the well-being, the visible well-being part is just like the cherry on the top.